What's poppin'? It's me. So, my most anticipated game of this year is absolutely Hell Is Us. I've thought this game's looked awesome since it was first shown. I've been extremely excited for this one. And the demo just went live today. So, of course, I played it, and I just want to talk about it. I'm so excited about this game because of the atmosphere it's given from the first trailers. So, from the beginning, I've thought this game really had like Annihilation vibes. This is the film Annihilation, based on the book Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Annihilation is one of my favorite movies. Annihilation is one of my favorite books. It's one of my favorite things, and anything that gives me the feeling of watching Annihilation for the first time is immediately going to capture me. I love like the weird sci-fi sort of vibe. It's my bread and butter. I love it. And so Hell Is Us, from the first trailers, it's given that sort of atmosphere, kind of a dark, dreary sort of vibe. And yeah, as soon as the first trailer showed like the enemies, I believe they're called Hollow Walkers. They're like white humanoid figures that have like a hole in their face and their chest. They're so weird and creepy, and it hooks me. It hooks me. So the game takes place in a fictional location called Hadia. I don't remember exactly how they said it in the game. And it's a location, it feels kind of like Eastern European to me, but it's a location that is apparently incredibly difficult to get out of and to get in. And the main character, as a child, was smuggled out by his mother, and as an adult, he's returned to this place, hoping to find his family, find his home village. My impression is he just wants answers. And so the game starts with this sort of interrogation setting where your character is being interrogated by someone and they're feeding you a truth serum. So when the truth serum starts to kick in and they ask you, how did you get into Hadia? That's when the game starts. So in the game, you're playing the memory that this character is communicating to this interrogator. And that feeds into a really cool aspect of the gameplay I'll get into later. So your character joins this like UN style Peace Corps and is trying to get in, but a civil war breaks out in this location. And so he ends up having to sneak in. And that's when the game starts. You ditch your clothes that you were assigned in this like Peace Corps, and you just go in like a jacket and a hat, and you're just wandering through the forest until you come across this like farmhouse. And this is all stuff that was shown in one of the first trailers, where you meet this character. He gives you some basic information and tells you, like, to get to this area, follow the wind chimes in the trees. Canonically, in the story, this character put up wind chimes so his sons wouldn't get lost in the forest. But these wind chimes function in a gameplay navigation way. The developers have said in PlayStation showcases that this game player platters the information for you instead of silver plattering. I think that's kind of a cringe way to put it, not gonna lie. But I think the idea is cool. It's very Elden Ring, in my opinion, in that, like, I think the developers want you to naturally explore and to actually ingest information from this world. There's no heads-up display with like markers telling you where to go. You need to pay attention to the clues given to you, and you need to pay attention to the conversations you have. And that's a really cool idea. As cringy as player plattering is, I think that's a cool idea, and that's part of what makes me so excited for this game. And so you follow the wind chimes through the forest, and you come across this APC, like military vehicle. And you meet like an injured soldier who's been stationed to this area, and he's telling you like this chamber they went into is fucked up, but he can't see. He's got like blood in his eyes, so you have to go find their camp and find like a med kit to give to him before he can help you get in. So once you get into this chamber and you start making your way in and you encounter the first enemy, eventually you get your like sword and your cloak and everything that you see in like the promotional imagery. And that's when the game like introduces combat and everything. And the combat is very Souls inspired. I'm not a Souls guy, so if I'm wrong, go ahead and roast me. But you have like a light attack and a heavy attack. And the heavy attack like charges up, it does a little more damage, the normal sort of stuff. And there's a parry system and like dodging and everything. There's no jump. There's no jump button, which bothers me. I really don't like when games don't have a jump button. That's part of why Elden Ring was far more accessible to me than games like Dark Souls. I've never gotten into the Dark Souls games. I've never played Bloodborne. I really want to. But I gotta work my way up. Okay, I suck. I gotta get good. So this game is kind of like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, where you don't have a jump button. And so it's a lot of like dodging, rolling, parrying. But this game has a parry mechanic that's probably similar to a lot of other Souls games where you parry at the right time. It gives you the opportunity to do like a one-hit kill. But this game also has a system where when you attack, it builds up a meter, and after you're done attacking, the meter will flash, and if you hit R1 at the right time, it will replenish your health and stamina with that meter that was glowing. I'm sure this system's in a lot of other stuff. This is my first time encountering it, so it took me a little getting used to. I imagine other Souls-likes have done something like this. I can't imagine this is a revolutionary idea. It works. It's fun. It took me some getting used to, but now that like I'm aware of it and I get it, it's easy enough to use. But even though the game is Souls-like in its combat, there is a detail that I really love, and that's that even if you die, enemies that you've killed stay dead. So when you respawn, because your character is telling this story of what happened, when you die, the interrogator says something along the lines of like, that's not what happened, what actually happened. So your character, the narrator, kind of rewinds and you respawn and you get another chance at telling this story and explaining what happened. And I think that's a really cool way of making this gamified element a canonical part of the storytelling. It's not like you died and you gotta respawn, because that's not how it goes. The interrogator actually calls you out in that that's not the truth. We gave you truth serum, quit lying. And so when you respawn, enemies that you've killed already stay dead. And I think that's an incredibly accessible aspect of this game that makes like Souls-like novices like me far more likely to get into this game. Because Elden Ring's the only Souls-like game I've ever really gotten into. I still never even completed it. I put like 70 hours into it, and I didn't even get close to the end. But that world and those systems work so well, I still had a fantastic time with it. But Elden Ring itself is already a very accessible Souls-like, and so this feels more along the lines of that to me, that make me far more inclined to stick with this game. But anyway, in the demo so far, there's only 2-3 kind of enemies that you encounter, and they're pretty visually similar. It's the same sort of like hollow walker, whatever the hell they call them, figures that are these like white humanoid figures. But the more like heavy ones, the more powerful ones, are almost more of like a mantis style of build, where they have kind of like sharp pincer kind of appendages, and they obviously just have like different kind of cadence to their attacks. But then there's like a third kind of version of enemies where it's just the other two, but like an upgraded version that have these like crystal sort of things on them, and from these crystals this red like plasma sort of geometric thing spawns out of them. And this red part of the enemy is like a shape-shifting something. I don't even know exactly how to describe it, but it shape-shifts into different attacks and different like formations. And to kill these enemies, you have to defeat the red part. And then when you kill the red plasma thing, it kind of goes back to the host, and it has to recharge. So that's when you can then do damage to the host creature. And if you take too long, the red part will respawn. You have to fight it again. But it kind of turns this one enemy into 2 different enemies you have to fight at the same time through the process of eliminating this like red plasma thing before you can actually kill the enemy. And I think that's a cool way of kind of diversifying the enemies without really putting too much in there. But I do hope in the final game there are more variations of enemies, just so it doesn't feel too much like Resident Evil 7, how like there's only a couple enemies in the game, and after a while they kind of lose their luster, they're less impactful, you know what I mean. But for being the demo, I think this demo is a great showcase of what this game is going to be. I'm sold. To be fair, I was already sold, but being able to actually play the game, I'm really excited for this to come out. An aspect I immediately picked up on, though, in this demo is that this game feels a lot like Returnal to me. I don't know if you guys played Returnal. Returnal is one of my favorite games of all time. It is absolutely the game of the generation so far. It is a fantastic game. I cannot sing the praises of Returnal enough. But it's another one of these like weird sci-fi sort of games that has a very cryptic story and setting, and it requires a lot of your attention to really get everything out of it. And an aspect of Returnal that I loved was the audio in it and the sound. Returnal had a very like creepy, dark, electronic, sort of alien, sort of synth kind of soundtrack. And in Returnal, the music ends up being like a huge part of it. But for the just kind of like ambient music in the stages, it was this kind of weird, synthetic, bassy, sort of creepy ambiance. And Hell Is Us has a very similar sort of vibe. It's a very like synthetic sound design. It fits the vibe perfectly, and I'm all about it. But the comparisons to Returnal don't really end there. There's a part in this demo where your character like enters this APC vehicle to go from one location to another. And when you enter the vehicle, it goes first person. And even though you're not like walking in this, you're just controlling the camera to like check your tablet of like information and then like select the console of the vehicle to drive. It's another parallel to Returnal, where in Returnal, when your character Celine enters Helios, her ship, it goes first person, and in that game you're able to walk around the ship. But even though you're not walking around in Hell Is Us in this vehicle, I just thought it was interesting how in both of these games you go first person in the vehicle. I feel like the tone of Hell Is Us is going to continue feeling very Returnal, based on like the kinds of puzzles that the game has. The puzzles in Hell Is Us are a lot of like find these keys and then you can enter the thing, find like these medallions that go on the wall that open a door. Or they're like, here's 3 riddles. You have to decipher what these riddles are telling you to order these symbols in the right order to unlock a door. The puzzles aren't necessarily hard, but they feel very cryptic in the same way that Returnal's puzzles do. And I think just the fact that both of these games have like an alien sort of language you're deciphering on signs and stuff, it gives both of these games a sort of like mysterious sort of alien feeling world. And that is the exact kind of thing I'm here for. This game definitely requires like a level of suspension of disbelief. I think like most stories do. Like there's an aspect of like the character is seemingly helpless until you get your weapon and then you know how to fight sort of thing. And like the plot so far seems to have like an air of melodrama to it that I could see not everyone being into. If it's your thing, I think it'll really be your thing. Like me, I'm eating this up. But so far, I'm really excited for this game. The full game comes out on September 4th. I already have the physical copy pre-ordered. I am anxiously awaiting this. I just wanted to take a second to kind of gush about this game. I think it's going to be very cool. I'm super excited for it. It's not super often that I'm this excited for a new game. I know a lot of people have been super excited for Death Stranding 2. I never completed Death Stranding, so while I was excited for it, I haven't earned playing Death Stranding 2 yet, so this is kind of the game that I've been looking at this year as the game that I'm excited for. And so far, I think based on this demo, I think the game's looking good. I recommend people try it out. The demo's free, but I just hope that other people like it as much as I am so far. I'm excited to see where the story goes, and I'm excited to talk about it with more people. If you play the demo, please let me know what you thought. I am super interested in other people's thoughts, especially people who might be more experienced with Souls-like than me. Like I said, I'm a Souls-like novice. I gotta get good. I'm bad at the game. So my view on it and someone with more experience, it might be different. I would like to hear like what it might be doing good in the Souls genre, what it might be doing bad. I'm just excited to just hear conversation about this game. I'm excited to get like people breaking down the story, and I just love this sort of atmosphere, and I'm excited to see what comes of this. But yeah, that's it. If you like this, I'm Logan. This is Memory Card. I talk about games and media and all this sort of stuff. I hope you enjoyed my word vomit, and have a good one.